Hi there, I'm Kathyrn Averkamp, founder of Make Way for Tech, and I'm really excited that you've joined me today. One of the things that a lot of us are thinking about as teachers right now is how to keep our students connected, right? How to give them that classroom feel from home. And now, one of the ways we can do this is by using technology to create opportunities for them to still work together and learn from each other, which we know is so important. So if you're thinking that there's no way that students can give each other feedback on writing anymore, or work in groups, or hold class discussions, I'm here to help you change that mindset and show you it can all still be done while your students are at home. Now, creating these experiences for your students, it doesn't require you to learn a whole new tool or sign your class up for a new subscription. The Google accounts your students already have are made for collaboration. It's one of the best features. So groups of students or even your entire class can be working together in the same Google Slides presentation or Google Doc, and I'm going to show you today that it's really easy to do. So today I'm going to show you how to create a class discussion activity in docs, slides, and drawings, just so you can see which tool you might want to use depending on the type of discussion you want to set up. I'll show you how your students can share their work with one another and give each other feedback using the commenting feature, which students absolutely love doing. I'll show you how to set up a collaborative activity for a group of students, as well as some really important things you'll want to remember and let your students know. And I'll also share with you a free template that I have that you can start using for group work for your students. We'll talk briefly about how to assign collaborative activities in Google Classroom. Just make sure you have the right setting. And lastly, I'll show you how to monitor student work so you can see exactly what each student is contributing in their group. One way to get your students collaborating is through class discussions. So just because you're not in the physical classroom right now doesn't mean that you still can't hold your morning meetings or have a check-in at the beginning of the day, or that you can't have that full group discussion about a topic that you're studying. So in this example, I created a Google Slides presentation, and I have 2 slides in it. At the top of the slide, I typed a question that I'm posing to my class, and I also included a little image here. You'll then see that I have just created text boxes. I just duplicated text boxes, and I made enough so that all of my students have space to respond. You can have your students use their class number if they have one, or you can just tell students to type in a text box that doesn't have any text in it yet. So when your students receive this, what they'll do is they'll find their text box, they'll just get rid of the words type here, and then they'll type in whatever it is that they're responding. So in this case, Kylie's goal is to read for 30 minutes straight without getting up. And soon, all of these text boxes will be filled from students in your class, and you can all see what everyone's goal is for that day. So again, this can be kind of a morning check-in. How are you feeling? You can put this into your character educations, or you can definitely use this for a subject you're studying. Maybe you have a government unit. You could talk about why laws are important, or in your science unit, give an example of an adaptation that an animal has. Share an idea of how we can conserve natural resources and why it's important to do that. So this can really be used for anything. Another way to have a class discussion is through an image collage. If your students are learning about natural resources and you want them to show what they've learned so far, what is a natural resource, you can create a blank Google drawing space. I love Google Drawings because the workspace is a lot larger and it's just one canvas to work on. So all I did was insert a text box here, and then when students get this, they're going to use the insert image button right in Google Drawings and search the web. Then they'll search the web for their natural resource. They'll double click on it, and then they'll just resize it so that all their friends have space to work. So as students put images on, you can see that it'll start to fill up. This can also serve as a class discussion. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is Google Docs. So Google Docs you could use in a similar format. What I did here is I typed a question at the top to actually poll my students. So this could be for a graphing activity or just kind of for, again, a check-in. And I just made a table here. I inserted a table and I just typed in 2 different books that we had read in class. And when students get this, they'll just type their name into one of the boxes to show their vote. This can be used as a prediction for something or a poll. You can kind of think about what it is you're teaching and you can create that. So again, here's Google Slides, Google Drawings, and Google Docs. So it just kind of depends what you feel is easiest and what kind of discussion activity you want to create. Now, if this feels like something you want to try with your class, but you're still a little bit unsure on maybe how to insert text boxes or duplicate slides, I walk you through that in a Google course that I've created for teachers. So you can always take a look at the videos in that course to learn exactly how to do these things. When you're ready to assign this collaborative discussion to your class and you're in your Google Classroom and you've started to create the assignment, you'll attach it the same way right from your Google Drive. But then you do something a little bit different. So you can see here this setting, it says students can view file, but you need to change it to students can edit file. So you don't want the last option. You don't want each student to have their own copy. You want them all to be in the same one. So make sure you choose student can edit file, and then you can just assign it as normal and students will all be able to collaborate. Next, I'll show you the commenting feature, which is one of my favorite things about using Google with my students. It's going to provide your students with the opportunity to have back and forth conversation with their peers, which can help deepen their learning, and it promotes asking questions and drawing personal connections while giving feedback to their classmates. It's also going to provide students with an authentic audience that's going to be interacting with their work. Even though your students are home, they can still utilize their classmates for peer editing and feedback on a piece of writing, for instance, like this one. In order for your students to share their work with a friend, they're going to click the blue share button in the upper right-hand corner, and they're going to type in their friend's name. I tell my students to type in their friend's last name first, just because it comes up a little bit quicker. But once they click on their friend's name, then they can decide if they want their friend to be able to edit it. They'd want to do that if they were working together on this piece, because then both people could have access to changing the words on it, or they can make it so their friend can just comment on it. So I'm going to choose can comment here and then click send. Now, if I'm Francis, the friend that it was shared with, I'm going to click on the shared with me section on the left-hand side of my Google Drive, and then I'll just double click on the doc. And now you can see that we're actually both in this. So Kathyrn's in it and Francis is in it at the same time. If students are writing a report like this one, their classmates can comment on parts of the work that's written well, or comment on areas that need more details, help fix the grammar, or help them remember their writing goals. Students can enter a comment in very easily. In order to make a comment, what your students will do is they're going to click where they want that comment to go. So they're going to click in the text where they want it to go. They can highlight a sentence if it's a whole sentence, or they can just click in the area they want the comment to be. And then they're going to click the comment button up here in the toolbar, and they can type in their comment. So I'm going to say proper nouns need capitals. And then they'll just click comment. And they can go through the piece, comment wherever they need to. They just have to make sure that the cursor is where they want the comment to go. Now, if I go back to my piece of writing, I can see that my friend has commented here, and it appears off to the right-hand side. I can read that comment, realize, oh, it's highlighted right here, and I can say, oh, I forgot Akamal and Tulum need capital letters at the beginning. When that comment is resolved, you can click on the resolve button here and just click resolve. So they're able to share their pieces in Google Docs and look for things that might need to be improved. Now, this also works for Google Slides. So if your student has a Google Slides presentation that they want to share with a friend, they share it the exact same way. So they're going to click that share button in the upper right-hand corner. They're going to type in that person's name. Then they have to decide if they want that person to edit it, comment, but I'm going to click comment on it and I'll click send again. The same thing, Frances will go to her shared with me section on the left-hand side of her drive. She'll double click on it and then she can make her comments. So in this activity, students had to create an opinion piece about the best thing that they've played since they've been on their at-home adventure. So in Google Slides, if you want to make a comment about the whole slide overall, you can just click the comment button and it'll make a comment about the whole slide. If you want to click on a picture, an image, and make a comment on the image, just click on the image and then click the comment button. Students can also comment on a section as they did before. They're just going to highlight the text they want to comment on, click the comment button, and type in their comment. What's the difference between Egyptian war and regular war? And double check your spelling on Egyptian. So hit comment. And then when I go back to the example over here, I can see that now Frances has commented. When I hover over her, I can see that this text is highlighted. If I want to respond to Frances and tell her what the difference is between Egyptian war and regular war, I can click on this box and type in my reply here. And it's kind of neat because your students can start a conversation around their work right in Google Slides. The last collaborative activity I want to show you is an activity for your students to work on a project together. So this is going to be for 4, maybe 5 students in your classroom. You'll assign them a topic or they'll be choosing their topic, whatever it is that you're working on. And they're each going to get a slide in the Google Slides presentation to customize. Now, in the past, when I'm actually in the classroom, I will actually create a presentation where every single student has a slide to work on. However, it's a lot easier to manage that when you're in the classroom. You don't want to have to worry about kids accidentally deleting things and them contacting you. So I really recommend that when students are at home, that they're just working in a group of 4, maybe 5 students. So here's a template that I could give my students. I have a title slide, I've created a table of contents for them, and then I have the student slides. Now, I put a few things on here and you can decide, and maybe you want to create text boxes for your students or arrows already. Maybe you want to create a space for them to put images, or maybe you just want to give this as a blank template. It's completely up to you and it kind of depends where your students are in terms of using Google. Now, I'm going to show you an example of a completed project. So again, each student has one slide. Here's the cover slide, the table of contents they've filled in, and then each student was able to work on their slide and complete it. And they split up the parts and they all used images and text. Now, there's a few things that your students need to remember when they're working collaboratively. The first is that in order to be working on their slide, they have to see this yellow text box over on the left-hand side surrounding their slide. So when it's surrounding their slide, they know that's their slide. If they want to delete something on their slide that they've already put on it, they have to make sure that they've selected something on the slide to delete. So if nothing's selected and they hit the delete button, the slide is actually going to delete. Now, it's not a problem because there is the magic undo button, as I call it, up in the toolbar. So they can click undo, the slide's going to reappear, it's fine. If they want to delete something, they need to actually click on it so that they see these blue squares surrounding it, whether it's an image or it's text. Then they can delete it. In just a little bit, I'm going to show you how they can also check the revision history and restore an old version if for some reason things get deleted and that undo button doesn't work. Now, before I give this to my groups in my class, I want to make this the master. So I'm going to click up in the title and I'm just going to type master here. I want to make sure that I always have this blank template available in my Google Drive. So to send it out to my students, I need to make some copies of it. So I'm going to go to File, Make a Copy, Entire Presentation, and I'm going to call this Collaborative Group 1 Activity Template. So students in group 1 will get this copy. I'm going to go back to my master and I'm going to make another copy. I'm going to call this Collaborative Group 2 Activity Copy. And I'll do that until I've made enough copies for the amount of groups that are in my class. Now, when I'm ready to assign them, I'm going to go to my Google Classroom, add the activity, and I'm just adding the activity for group 1 first. So I'm going to hover over this and it says Collaborative Group 1, so I'll double click on it. I have to make sure I change this to students can edit file. Always edit file for a collaborative activity. And then on the right-hand side where it says all students, I'm going to click on that. I'll click the box next to all students to uncheck it because I don't want this to go to all of my students, right? I only want it to go to 4 of my students. So I'm going to click the 4 students that I want it to go to, and then I'm going to click assign. And I'm going to follow those same steps for group 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in my classroom. Now, if you still need to set up your Google Classroom or you're not sure how to grade the student work that is returned in Google Classroom, I cover all of this in my Google course for teachers. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the revision history. So the revision history is important for 2 reasons. Number 1, students can go to the revision history to restore an old version of their activity if, let's say, something gets deleted and that undo button doesn't work. The other reason that the revision history is really great is because you as the teacher can check out what each of your students have contributed to the group project. To find the revision history, I'm going to click above the toolbar here where it says last edit was made on May 31st. Click that. And if I look on the right-hand side of my screen, there are a few different versions. And each version is listed with the date and the time, so you can see what your students are up to. Right now, it's on the current version, but I'm going to go to a previous version here. So at 11:01 a.m., this was what my students were working on. Now, if you look right next to the 2 students' names, there are 2 colored dots. Avery's dot is this teal color and Mia's dot is this purple color. So I can look at the presentation and anything I see that has a purple outline, that means that Mia put that there. And anything with the teal outline, that means that Avery contributed that. This is a great way to know if all of your students are contributing to the project. If I click on the current version, you can see that Mia in purple has added a few more things, including some text and more pictures, and Avery has as well. Not only can you see if all partners are contributing equally and kids can't make up what they did, but if students accidentally delete something, whole sections, or even the entire screen, which I have seen before, you can just restore a previous version. So right now, again, this is the current version, but if I go and I click on a previous version, I can click this button at the top of the screen that says restore this version, and it'll actually restore that version for me in case something has happened. The last thing that's really neat about the revision history, if any of your students are working inappropriately on the activity, you are able to know exactly who is doing what. So this revision section is great for so many reasons. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you were able to get some ideas for some collaborative experiences that you can create for your students while they're learning from home. And I'm happy to answer any questions or comments you might have. Just put them right in the comments here and I'll get back to you. I know that this distance learning can feel overwhelming right now, but if you need any extra support, I have a course that is full of short and really easy to follow videos that will guide you through creating meaningful activities that are engaging for your students, creating self-grading assessments, and getting that Google Classroom all set up so you can distribute assignments as well as grade them. So you can take a look at the course at makewayfortech.com and also in my Make Way for Tech Teachers Pay Teachers store. If you want to grab that free group work template that I showed you earlier in the video, just go to makewayfortech.com/free and I'll give you a copy of it. And then lastly, if you want some already made collaborative activities that your entire class can work in, follow the link right underneath the bit.ly link collaborative bundle. Thanks again for joining me. I hope to see you again. Take care, stay healthy.